Hi, everybody. It's Laura Eisenhower. I'm by myself tonight. David Rodriguez is currently out of town, and but we're going to keep the show going, and really excited about the guest that we have this evening. It is a person that I've actually interviewed before, did some roundtables as well with him. His name is Seth Pruzansky, and Seth has all sorts of like amazing information and breakthrough information as far as something that he's about to launch that definitely is going to be good to hear about. But yeah, I'm going to read his bio in just a little bit. I'm probably not going to do too much of a blurb. I was almost thinking that maybe the show wouldn't happen tonight, and so it's sort of surreal. Yes, I think everybody experienced the fact that YouTube was down for a little while tonight, and that was kind of interesting. But yeah, okay, somebody's saying the video's blurry. Yeah, I think there's just a lot of tech stuff going on right now, and that's okay. So what is really special about our guest is the things that he's gone through. I mean, the traumas that he's gone through. I mean, it's pretty incredible. We're talking about getting over major drug addiction, being incarcerated for a long time, being in the prison system for a long time, and illnesses. And I mean, it's like, you name it. This person has overcome it and has created just the most positive formula for how we can handle, adversity. I mean, just his wisdom and how he downloads is incredibly impressive. So I don't really want to waste any time. I think we're also going to bring on another guest, Salini, who is going to be the original guest, and we fell kind of out of touch. And then it just synchronistically worked out that Seth is joining us tonight. So we're going to have her join us, and we're probably going to do a bit of a roundtable kind of thing. But let me just share a little bit about Seth. So Seth Leaf Pruzansky was born into this world with the ability to interpret deeply profound universal wisdom directly from his soul. Throughout the course of his life, he has learned how to masterfully articulate this knowing in a way that benefits those who are desperately looking for real answers to the big questions of life. Seth is a self-published author of the book, The Fight to Enlight, Initiation Through the Heart is the Only Way to Win. A successful entrepreneur, performing musician, co-founder of livingnuts.com, tourmalinespring.com, and editor of the blog I'm Awake Now What.com. That's a great name. A website devoted to globally awakening people to the power residing in their own consciousness. Is what this man's been up to. The best place to find him, though, is www.I'mAwakeNowWhat.com, especially in these times. I mean, what an incredible guest. And we're like 11/11. This is our 11th episode. But yeah, when it goes into the deeper story behind how he began to, connect with his immense wisdom, let me just give a few things about that. I listed some, but okay, through severe bullying as a child, deadly drug addiction in his early 20s, a decade-long chronic illness, 3 years of prison, and countless near-death experiences throughout his entire life, he has learned to develop a level of resiliency that is both rare but completely possible for anyone to cultivate and activate within themselves. So these are these kind of times where we don't want to slip into victim consciousness. We don't want to hold belief systems that go against the truth of who we are and what we know we're here for. And so this is going to be an incredible reminder and activation for everybody who's listening. So thank you so much for joining, everybody. And I'm ready to bring him on. So Seth, enter.
Thank you, Laura. My gosh, thank you for the introduction. I appreciate that so much. And I think you know enough about me by now to know that what I know, whatever it is very minimal, but it's something that everybody has the ability to know. And if they do know it, then all of these scary things that seem like they're happening suddenly don't look so scary, you know? So that's what I want to get people to.
Right. I mean, those are some, pretty severe things to, go through, particularly when we're looking at the whole concept of enslavement and control, the control system, not being able to just do what we want to do when we want to do it because there's mandates or certain restrictions in different states. So kind of take us into that process of, finding that place of freedom, even in the face of what might externally look like those freedoms are being compromised.
Yeah. It's amazing because we're always in a prison. We are literally living in a perceptual prison of our own making. And it's been happening for most of us since youth. Unless we're living out in the woods, we're with family members that love us and are feeding us good food and like really treating us with respect, then maybe we're not so enslaved. Maybe we're a lot more aligned with reality as it is. But for most of us, we're born, something happens, we immediately, and then that something can be trauma. It could be something, could be as simple as just somebody making fun of us, could be as severe as somebody raping us, whatever. It's going to be different for everybody. But whatever that initial incident was, it was impactful enough that we start creating neural networks that are identifying with the trauma, the impact that that initial event caused. And from that point forward, we literally become addicted to the stress hormones that our body is producing in relation to events that may not even have anything to do with the initial impact or that initial event. But we keep making it about that. And so in this way, we keep building actual physical structures throughout our brain and body that are neural networks. They're neurons that have fired together, they've wired together, and we've created physical structures that enable us to keep thinking and feeling in the way that we're most used to thinking and feeling. And in this way, we enslave ourselves. And that right there is like the alpha and the omega. It's the beginning and the end, because when we don't realize we're doing that and we've created this self-containment enslavement system that we are the ones that are responsible for, then we hear all the conditioning, all the fear, all the things that the controllers, that everything is doing around us. We just take all of that to reinforce our own state of victimization, of feeling stuck, of feeling just imprisoned. And so much of this is happening at a subconscious and even an unconscious level. But those days where we keep subjecting ourselves to that are here to be over now. And that's what's so exciting about all this.
Oh, yeah, totally. So when a person releases themselves of that kind of negative feedback loop or that sort of self-imprisonment based on, kind of gravitating on a consciousness level to the belief of that enslavement and that drama or how you described it, doesn't that shift the outer reality? Because the creative energy is not submitting to it. It actually pulls back the sovereignty, and then you can literally create miracles, right? Like, and maybe give us some examples in your own life where you were able to do that.
Okay, so again, I'm going to say a bunch of stuff, but I'm going to ask everybody to really pay attention because it's worth it. If you can hang in and really get the gist of what I'm saying here, you're going to see how this can work for you in your own life. So when we're in a state of disconnect, we're in this negative thinking and feeling feedback loop where we're just going on and on. It's this or that, it's them, it's this, it's all these things that are creating this story that is related to all these problems that we keep affirming by focusing on them. And when we're doing that, we're not in a state of homeostasis. We're not in a state of internal balance. We are way off. We're just all over the place, totally disconnected. But when we realize that we're doing that and we catch ourselves and we say, oh my God, wait, I'm actually unknowingly taking this beautiful energy that I am, that you are, that everybody truly is. And instead of focusing it on the heartbeat, the breath, the very simple, basic things in life, we're focusing on all these external things. So we're taking this invisible attention, this life force, which is priceless, literally priceless. We are investing it in all of these external circumstances that keep becoming more important than our own state of internal wellness and peace. And that's what most people are doing. And they're doing it most of the time to the degree that it's become normalized. Everybody just thinks that's normal. But here's the opposite. When we realize we're doing that, we start taking steps to calm down, to getting into a state of coherence. You've heard me say that a lot, and a lot of people are talking about heart-brain coherence. So when you calm down, you start breathing rhythmically, you smile inwardly. SMILE is a great acronym for Start My Internal Love Engine. And you literally just do this. You train yourself to get into a state of calm. Then suddenly your heart starts sending all kinds of information to your brain. Your brain starts sending all kinds of information to your organs. They're all linked up and synced up with the beat of the heart. And then suddenly you're not thinking and feeling the way you're most used to thinking and feeling. You are thinking and feeling in an expansive way. And that aligns you with the intrinsic nature of the actual universe itself, because the universe is expanding right now. And so if our consciousness is not in a state of expansion with it, then chances are we're in a program, we're in conditioning, we're in a loop. And if you look to the root cause of that, we're the ones perpetuating it. It's not the government. It's not them. It's not some people. It's not somebody who hurt you way back. It's you. You're the one doing it. And when you realize that, you're like, okay, I'm going to take my power back by loving my life, by being calm. And when you do that and you create that internal coherence, then suddenly, just as you can create coherence in your body, the earth has its own coherent energy field. Your body starts to become syncopated to the coherent energy field of the earth. And the earth has a syncopated, energetic, coherent field with the solar system. The solar system has it with the galaxy. The galaxy has it with the universe. This goes ad infinitum into infinity. So when we choose to take responsibility for being in that internal coherent state, then suddenly or eventually we start to realize that we are being supported by universal forces that are way greater than we're able to perceive when we're in a stuck, perceptually imprisoned state of being that most people are in.
Right. Well, yeah, victim consciousness is definitely like the blame shame game, just kind of, feeling victimized by everything. But what about, the innocence of like children, or when you really don't have the ability to say no and you're just in that kind of, vulnerable place. I mean, I know every situation isn't the same, or a person's agreement coming into this lifetime, but I mean, how can we sort of talk to that child that didn't have the protection that it needed? And then, what you are, basically stating, that'll be the question, but is, taking our power back is understanding that. No, I'm just going to like leave it at that. So go with that question.
Yeah. So here's where it can be a little bit tricky, because when we see the suffering of a child, it touches us in a way where we feel defenseless, because we don't want to see our children or any children suffering. And so it causes a conundrum, because we're like, oh my God, what can I do? We don't want them to suffer. But it's in those moments when things seem hardest or bleakest or most challenging that we're being called to really sustain these internal states of being. And when we do sustain them, it's amazing how the answers to solutions that will fit into any and every problem that we are facing as a species suddenly become self-evident. And I know that's like kind of a broad answer to a very specific question, but without getting into the whole thing of, we've incarnated with soul memory, with certain things that we have to go through in order to experience life or evolve or work out the great accounting system of the universe. With all that put aside, okay, when we get into these states and we prioritize them and we sustain them, then our ability to face whatever it is that we are afraid of becomes a learning opportunity that leads to an activation. It leads to us, okay, we're so afraid, there's all this fear, and oh my God, I don't want to deal with it, but I'm going to stay with it no matter how uncomfortable it is, no matter how much it hurts, no matter how much it burns. I trust it enough to know that even if I don't know what it is trying to teach me something. And if we can assume that state of mind and that state of being, we will get through to the other side of whatever it is that's presenting itself to us. And what is on the other side is when these activations, these downloads, these expanded states of awareness where we begin to activate these dormant perceptual energy centers of the mind and body that are in every one of us. And when we're thinking and feeling in accordance to these aspects of ourselves being activated, it's a whole different way of being compared to how most are.
Oh, totally. I mean, adversity, I feel, has been my friend. I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't bless adversity. I mean, it's been the greatest thing. I mean, it's the ultimate challenge to take on, is to thrive in the face of the things that are trying to tear you down, So and that's why I relate so much to you and your story. And, and you wrote a book, and it's just, you're so freaking inspiring. So, I mean, take us a little bit into your life journey. I mean, prison for 3 years, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Crippling illness and addiction. When did some of those moments, like coming in from your own higher self, like begin to shift you? Like, what kind of tell us about sort of the realizations you had in those moments where you might have literally felt like, like you're dying and you're there's no hope.
So first of all, I just want to say I'm so grateful that I actually did survive, because I've had a lot of friends who didn't. They didn't make it through. I've sadly witnessed a lot of people close to me actually die, but I made it through. And the fact that I made it through is something that I am so reverent for. I am so grateful for, because there were so many times from so many, even the things that you know about, like so many things happen that it's so insane to even consider. It's like perplexing the amount of trials and tribulations and initiations and things that happen, that it gets to the point of absurdity. And that's really what it was. It was like so many things, way too much information, way too much pain, way too much trauma, all of it, all the time, just constantly, just always bombarding me, to the degree where I suddenly was like, it's so much that it's kind of absurd. It's kind of a joke. And I was like, what if instead of like feeling like a victim and so serious, what if I just start laughing? What if I enjoy this? What if I like embrace it like a little innocent kid having fun with it? And I started doing that, and my God, everything just shifted instantly.
That's so brilliant. Oh man, I can relate. I mean, the absurdity. I mean, like the stuff that we're dealing with currently in the world. I mean, it's just like I said on Ben and Rob's show recently, it's like being stuck in a dark comedy. It's like, you gotta just freaking laugh. It's like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. And it's all literally nudging us to like break the barriers and like experience our fullness and begin to grow and thrive. Like, we don't have to be in this polarization, and yeah, I mean, if we're victims, we actually feed them. They love that, right?
Yes, enough said. I mean, that's really it. And that's all the reason why it's so important for us as individuals to take responsibility for our state of being, for how we're perceiving it. Because like anybody can try it. Like, look how serious everybody and everything appears to be, right down to even the seemingly mundane things. Like, You wake up in the morning, you're feeling some back pain, you're feeling a little bit stuff, and you start worrying about it. You start having fears. You're like, oh, what if it's this? What if it's that? We take everything so freaking seriously that we don't give ourselves the space to open up to anything beyond that. But when we're like, you know what? I look up at night, there is nothing but space. Gosh darn it, I'm going to give myself the space to laugh, to smile, to have fun. Even if it hurts, I'm going to find a way to enjoy this and love it in the face of it all. And when we can do that with sincerity, with earnestness, oh my God, the universe is like, see, it's like, this is all I was trying to get you to do. Like, I just wanted you to get to this point, but you were just stuck in fear porn.
Yeah, so true. The seriousness of it. And that's the thing with what we're seeing in the world today. And I don't want to get too much in it because I know like they want to censor everybody to who's trying to kind of decode it and bust it. But this whole fear thing, masking, this fear of, a virus. And this is why, your voice is so incredibly powerful in these times, that we're, facing that energy of fear. What do we do with fear? We take all precautions. We take it so seriously, or can we like literally laugh? I mean, I was only in jail for 4 days, and I remember like everything felt like a comedy. Like I was scripted to just play this part and be this person, with this person in the cell who's like picking at her face because she's getting over like this terrible addiction. That's not the reason I was there. And it's a long story. People are like, what? No, I won't go there. But it's just like, when you become the observer, right? You enter that neutrality field, and you shared some really interesting stories last time with maybe some of the prison guards, and when they were about to do something, you held a different energy. It's almost like energetic kung fu, like your level of mastery in some really, really dark situations. I don't know. I know we talked about it in the last show, but I mean, we can go into town and be told you have to do this and you have to do that, but it's that humor and it's that inner freedom that, influences the situation to maybe disarm the person that's being, the deputy human that is trying to enforce whatever they're, buying into. I mean, like, kind of give us some examples of where you've seen an individual or a situation become disarmed by your frequency of like not feeding it.
Well, there's so many. One thing I want to say.
It's like I'm asking you. It's like you.
Well, there's great examples,
archives of those kind of stories, but if any jumps out,
there's something I want to mention. It's so pertinent to times we're living in. When I was 18 years old, one of my nearest and dearest friends to me just said out of nowhere, and I wrote it in my book, but he said, all those people masked by identity have fallen prey to themselves. He said this 27 years ago to me. And when he said it, it just like reverberated into my soul. Here we are 27 years later, everybody is masked. That had nothing to do with his original statement, but his original statement had everything to do with why all this is happening right now, in that we have become so addicted to the belief that I'm Seth. This is my life. This is what happened to me. And I'm so used to thinking and feeling in relation to this story that I keep telling myself that the mask of my own identity is what is causing me to fall prey to myself. I'm doing it. It's not them. It's nobody else. I am the one doing it. And so when I say, you know what, I'm going to take this mask of identification off of myself by choosing to not identify with all of these past stories and fears and traumas and not bypassing them at all. Like, that's something I want to be really clear about. Like, the route that I've taken is not at all bypassing. In fact, it's the opposite. It's fully embracing the things that you would never want to face to actually move beyond them. But it is choosing to identify with the simple things, the innate intelligence of the body that is animating the body, that is allowing us to perceive reality through these human senses. It is the pulse of energy that is causing the natural world around us to exist, the universe. Like, this is where the real information is available to us at all times. But to answer your question, I've so resolutely conditioned myself to make being in these states a priority, to the degree that I was like, oh, okay, every time these old thoughts or feelings would come up, I'd catch them and I'd be like, oh yeah, that's a little bit, layer upon layer. I keep revealing deeper and deeper layers of stuff that I wasn't even aware that I was doing. And I'm changing the program because I'm creating new neural architecture throughout and around the entirety of my being that is overriding all of the old programming that keeps me in the stuck place. And when I do that, I am feeling what it's like to be loved by this planet, because I love this planet. And I'm feeling what it's like to be in love with this energy that is animating my being, that's causing solar systems to exist, that's causing galaxies to exist. And when I think and feel in synthesis with that, then people around, okay, and this is the thing, sustaining it, thinking and doing that and feeling it, whatever, but you get to a point where you practice enough that you start sustaining it. And suddenly your entire being is incoherent with a planet that is incoherent with a solar system, that is in coherence with a galaxy, that's in coherence with the universe, and on and way beyond the physical appearance of all these dimensions. And when you are in that state, people cannot help but be affected by you, because a state of universal coherence, you could say, is such a higher frequency than a state of fear and disorder and chaos and entropy, that by the virtues and laws of natural law, by you being in that state, coherence entrains incoherence. So people that are all messed up and out of sync, they come around a person who's just in that, because they realize that that's all that is actually real to begin with. Suddenly they start to change. Now, it's not always pretty for everyone. Some people will start to question their beliefs and their triggers and the things that come up. And that's when your patience gets to be tested. You know, you can really see what you're made of. But it's a beautiful journey, because anybody willing to be triggered and then move beyond what the trigger is, or to feel their frustration and pain and be willing to move beyond it in the presence of somebody, or just in nature, or in the presence of something that is going to ultimately be there for you when you get beyond whatever it is you're experiencing, then suddenly you have the capacity to be able to process not only your own stuff, but this collective conditioning that so many are masked by.
Man, you just bring it all in. It's just like, it's like truth lullaby. You're like a truth lullaby. I love it. It's so beautiful. And yeah, it's incredible. So I know Salini is sitting there backstage, and I'm going to introduce her. But before we close the show, we definitely want to talk about what you and I have been talking about. You're launching something pretty huge. And yeah, it's going to be interesting for you guys to get to know each other. And when I read her bio, you're going to, know like a bit more about her and everybody else who might not be familiar with her. And it's going to be so interesting to see where the dialogue goes. What's crazy is, we are artists. We are artists of the elements and of life. And when we allow something external to bind us and hold us in a frequency that doesn't support the fullness of all that we are, we're enabling the very thing that we don't want. I mean, it's just, and thank you so much for just.
No, thank you for getting it, because it's really easy to get. In fact, there's nothing else to get, really. And so the more enough of us are just like, okay, this is what is really going on, and we're just going to live like that, and we're not going to keep giving our beautiful, precious attention to all of these fear-based things, then suddenly all these problems that seem like they're so big suddenly don't look as big anymore.
Totally. It's so true. It's so true. because so much concentrated attention on something that just generates fear, like feeds it to the point where it becomes a monster and it just wants to devour you. And then you get sick and you're dying. And it's like it's all overtaking you. And then that one moment, it can all change when you just realize, wow, we are way more than that. And and that's one of the most powerful reminders that you're bringing to the planet right now. And thank you so much for putting out the book and just telling your story. And I'm so thrilled that the synchronicity worked out that you're with us tonight. So before we close, though, we'll talk about the project. So if anything happens and we start to get into a big conversation and that gets forgotten, just, say, yo, I got to share this. Not that I'm feeling very spacey, but I'm a little spacey sometimes, and I just don't want to miss anything. So I want to tell you guys about my dear friend, Salini. And I am always afraid that I'm going to not say the name correctly. And I've known her for so long that if I do, it's just, okay, maybe I'm a little dyslexic here and there. But it's Salini Apodaca. And she was initiated by several master spiritual teachers, including Reiki Grandmaster Hawayo Takata, Holy Mother Amachi, Jesus, Mother Mary, Kuan Yin, Shiva, and her mother Alulia May. Salini has also been initiated into mystery schools and indigenous teachings around the world, including at the Hopi and Navajo reservations and in Mexico, Bali, and Australia. She's a holistic practitioner with clinical certification in addiction counseling, body work in multiple modalities, an alchemist and shaman, and divine mother, bringing unconditional healing love to Earth to assist with the awakening at this time. So this is what's so fascinating about her story is Salini, she's a survivor of the MK Ultra trauma-based mind control sex slavery program. She deprogrammed and healed herself, and in the process developed a program for healing trauma, mind control, and addictions, and restoring the fractured spirit of humanity. Her dual initiation into light and dark served as the basis for Salini's understanding of how to heal the matrix of duality in human consciousness. She offers this integrative healing program in her book, Emerging from the Matrix, Healing Human Trauma and Ending Global Enslavement. So this is somebody who's been through the ringer and come back out the other side, just like you, Seth. I mean, what an incredible synchronicity to have you both on the same show tonight. So let's bring her on.
Hey there.
Do I say your name wrong? If I do, I'm so sorry. It's Salini, right?
Seth.
Oh,
hi, honey. How are you, Laura?
Yeah.
Can I correct the name? Is it okay if we start by me correcting the name?
Oh, man, I'm sorry.
No, it's cool. I just want people to know. Salini Teri Apodaca. And then my mother's name is Eulela May. So these are all hard names to say, so I understand.
Yeah, it's not my forte. I'm in the sort of non-language realms, and that's why I was always told oh, you have learning disabilities. It's I just see something else. Maybe cut me some slack. So anyway, thank you so much for joining, and it's really cool to be both together. And I guess I would love to engage you both in a dialogue. And maybe you want to share first. What your thoughts are. I mean, I know you heard part of the interview, and what sort of stuff is coming up for you as you listen to us?
I actually didn't hear, is it Seth?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear more than just a few minutes because I was closing out my last client and then coming on. So I just got a little chunk of what you do, but it sounds similar to maybe what I do as a healer and as an alchemist and as a divine mother. Well, I can just start sharing, and just stop me if you want to ask a question or something. I feel like this is my destiny, that I was born for this moment of awakening, and I'm sure both of you feel the same, that my initiation was specifically designed to prepare me to heal people who are awakening. So if you survive the gauntlet of torture of MK Ultra, and then you also are initiated as a child into Reiki, as I was, then I was able to use the light to heal the dark. And that's what we're doing right now, is we're using the light to heal the dark. So it's not about, blanking them out of the universe. It's about waking up, reclaiming the broken soul parts, transmuting the dark energy, and reclaiming the wholeness of our consciousness, which has been, it's been captured by the dark forces. And they've been doing all kinds of fun stuff on us. You know, as you well know, Laura, we've talked about it endlessly. You know, the alteration of our DNA to numb us down to where they can control and reprogram us into non-humans, and to capture our soul essence, which is what they're trying to do right now, and to mind control us. And I feel like this is really why I'm here right now, because I am really good at breaking mind control and also not healing people, but also like I understand what they're doing very clearly because they did it to me. I went through this whole mind control MK Ultra thing and then I broke it. What they're really doing right now, because I want to talk about what's happening right now, is they are trying to hive mind. They're trying to capture the hive mind. And they've been putting us all into the hive mind for quite a while. And with all this programming, I did hear you say something about that, Seth. And, you know, we're being, you know, roped in with CNN and all, we all know that, you know, all these, but there's multiple programs, education, political, counseling, all these different things that I've crossed. I see the programming happening. And what happens is the true essence of the soul is crushed down, and we become a hive mind where everybody thinks the same because we can't get past here to get up to our third eye because of everything, the fluoride and everything. So this is the most critical moment. They're trying to capture the hive mind of the world and convince us that Joe Biden is the president, which is ridiculous. And I'm amazed how many people have accepted it. And that's where I know you can see very clearly who's captured. And so I feel like it's our duty to break it. And, you know, what's behind the hive mind approach is to capture your soul essence when you're unconscious. It's very much what I went through as an MK Ultra, because they traumatized me to the point where I couldn't protect my heart, my soul, anything. And they're just, you know, they're parasiting. Let's see, let's take her divine essence. Let's take her heart. Look at her. She's really super divine. She's powerful. She's going to be a divine mother. Let's just take it. So they capture my self. But you know what? They could never really, thank God I've got so much Aquarius. Nobody's taken me down. That's the way I feel about it. This warrior in me was stronger than anything they tried to do. So obviously I was ready for this challenge. And I started at 3 and I said, you're not going to take me down. You're not going to take me out. But, you know, the battle got fiercer as I got older. And what I realized is that they had a hold of part of my soul essence and they had a hold of my mind. And that's when I started deprogramming it. And as I liberated it, out comes this divine mother. And I thought, no wonder they don't want me here. I'm ready to purify your crystalline DNA back to square one. I'm ready to deprogram your mind. I'm ready to heal your heart. I'm ready to heal the consciousness of the planet. And I'm ready to kick these bastards off the earth. You know what I mean? I mean, it's time for them to go, Laura. Time's up on dark bastards, okay? Don't you agree?
Yeah. Totally. Oh my gosh. So Seth, what are your thoughts? You know, now that you guys are getting acquainted.
It's beautiful to hear how different people perceive things in the way that is specifically meant for them according to their own reasons for incarnating and what those may be. And it's beautiful to hear how so many are coming to the realization of all these things in their own way that are unique to them, that are also enabling them to be able to help others who also resonate with that specific form of overcoming, healing, initiation, or whatever. What I've done personally in my own evolution through all this, by being in prison, I spent 3 years in prison, being in the belly of the beast with just so much duality, so much harshness, so many people telling you what to do, and just, feeling like the eye of Satan, you could say, is looking right at you and wanting to control your every waking moment. I just decided in that moment that I was not going to perceive that as something separate from me anymore. I stopped investing my attention in the belief that there's an us in them. And instead, I was like, you know what? I'm going to take full responsibility for how I'm perceiving this. Now, there may be an us in them, And that might all be happening depending upon the dimension that I'm most accustomed to perceiving my reality in. But the more I take responsibility for that, the less constricted I am by the quote unquote normal dimensions that most of us are perceiving most of our information from. So the more I relax, the more I take responsibility for it, the more of an expansive awareness I have, the less and less that control that quote unquote they have over me means anything, because now I'm just becoming in coherence or in alignment with these great, majestic, indescribable, ineffable universal forces that truly make up the fabric of the soul, you know, the energetic harmonics of why the soul exists in the first place. And it is from that unrelenting commitment to consistently being synthesized and harmonized with that awareness is what gives me the ability to take a quantum leap beyond the perception of duality, the us and them, the feeling like I'm stuck because of something that somebody or something is doing to me. So that's just how I do it.
Yeah, that's reminiscent of I'm sorry I didn't hear that story. I didn't know you were in prison, and I'm sorry you went through it, but then again I'm not, because I know that we chose these things, you know.
Perfect.
I feel the same about my abuse, you know. I was very angry, obviously, like, why did you do this to me? And then finally it's like, wait a minute, I came here to break this lineage. It's a Roman lineage. All the men in the family were tortured, so they tortured us, and it's like, okay, let's look at it from outside, you know, the body and the human experience. And that I came here to resolve this. I didn't come here to feel sorry for myself and be an ego victim and all that kind of stuff. So once I got back into my higher self and I could look at it, and that wasn't easy, because I had to have an awakening. I had to remember, and then I had to deprogram myself. But once I did that, the whole mission started. And, you know, the JFK assassin showed up in my life, and I deprogrammed him, and he showed me the entire structure of the CIA and the JFK assassination. And that was really kicked things off for me. Then I thought, wow, I can deprogram people. Let's get started. So, you know, I did that. And I agree with you that we're not separate from the dark ones. It's like they're on assignment. Their assignment is wake these people up. They come in and be dark. And I'm not saying there's some good ones. There's good and bad in them, you know. It's like some of the dark ones are here serving us to force us awake, and some of them are from other dimensions that want to take over. So it's kind of a little bit of both. And the ones that want to take over are soulless. It's like bye-bye. But the ones that maybe made a commitment to come and assist with the awakening of this planet, thank you. And so I thank my abusers for forcing me awake. I mean, I chose to come here, have all my karma come up and go through horrible things or whatever I did from in another lifetime, so that I could be done with it. And guess what? The greatest initiation is the initiation into the Divine Mother, so that you forgive everyone and you love everyone, and your power is completely unstoppable. And that's where I'm at. And that's what they were afraid of. It's like, bring on your demons, you know, come on. These are little babies to me. I'll just like, boom, you're done. I ask them, and I'm always exercising demons off of my clients constantly, archons, demons, and reptilians. I always give them the choice. Do you want to go to the light? You want to join us in the awakening? Or do you want to be a nasty demon for another 26,000 years? And do you know what? At least 75% of them want to go to the light for healing. So I'm constantly sending these little demonic forces on to their way to, you know, angels come and get them. So it's a beautiful, beautiful experience. But, you know, we're in the middle of this thing right now, Laura. Can I comment about what's happening on the election?
Yeah, go for it.
I feel strongly about it. So I think that I'm here for this too. I just heard that Donald Trump's been blocked from Facebook, Twitter, email, everything. And he has asked the American people to write letters requesting a 50-state recount. And he wants millions and millions of us to write letters. So I want to announce it on your show that everybody needs to write a letter, because he's going to use those as evidence in court that this many Americans want to recount. They can't pretend that nobody wants it. Everybody believes that Biden is the president. So he specifically today asked for people to send out letters to him, and he's going to take them one by one to court. So that's the first thing. And I saw their attempt to shut down the media and put in this narrative. They're trying to capture our minds. It's a mind control. If they can sweep more than 50% of people into this collective consciousness, then they think they can tip the scale back to the dark. But there's too many of us. There's too many awakened. And so we as digital warriors and as truth speakers right now and as alternative news, we're going to blast the truth. Trump's the president, deal with it. And we're going to make that energy sweep over the world so that they can't silence the truth. They can't stop this from happening. And I feel like we have to do that right now. So as a result of that, I started on Sunday. Well, I did it with you on Saturday, but I officially started 70 days of prayer and meditation to visualize the accurate election, the real election, the authentic election, and to visualize. I happen to have a picture from the military satellite of what the United States looks like on election night. It's all red. The West Coast went red. And the reason why I have that is because they put the watermark in the ballots, and it is chipped with technology so they can watch it from above. The military was watching it from satellite. They watched them hide the ballots. You talk about a genius. So they took a picture of the United States from the satellite, what it looked like really, and it's a landslide for Trump. So I put that on my page, and I'm asking every person who joins me every day, and I'm going to do it after this broadcast, to come with me. We're doing a collective focusing on turning America back red and revealing the ballots and revealing the truth of this election and visualizing Trump in the White House. So whoever wants to join me, come to Facebook and YouTube. I'm doing it every day. And I'm not so far censored, Laura. I don't know why I'm still there.
Well, no, there's some protective shield over you. And the thing is, I love how people like call it whack-a-mole. Like, you shut us down here, we're going to pop up over there.
Right.
And it's not about red state. It's not about Republican. That is a stargate and a gateway into human sovereignty. And people are still getting caught in the narrative of, oh, it's right versus left. It's like, actually, no. You know, there's no violence. There's no huge backlash. There's no disgusting hatred coming from the side that is right now Trump and Republican. This is a completely different ball game. It goes beyond politics. This is about the takedown of the deep state. This is about, appreciating everybody's version of what it means to create the American dream for yourself. It doesn't have to be the white picket fence. For some, it might be creating the healing centers that we've been talking about. I mean, it's just the ability to have the right to do it, and not just be like hiding in your home and in lockdown, because like, who wants a leader that literally empowers fear? So anyway, Seth, go ahead. What are your thoughts?
I am so in a state of trust of however it unfolds, having been literally brought to the brink of death, where all of my human thoughts and emotions were brought right to the edge of what my physical body could handle. And then like literally realizing like, okay, I'm dying. There's no way that I'm getting out of this, being pulled out of it. And going through this somewhat involuntary process that happens as the awareness disconnects from the sensual awareness of the body, and then somehow returning to all that, I have come to realize that there is a party happening in the heavens. There are celestial beings that are cheering us on right now, that are like, look, like, just be here, be present, be in love. And you know what? The more you embody that, the more they are just going to just make this into exactly what it needs to be, so that we as individuals can rise above all of the collective conditioning that has held us back forever. It's literally like now we are at the cutting edge of the evolutionary impulse itself, witnessing something that may have never existed in the entirety of the human species existence here on the planet right now. And to me, that's exciting. I wake up in the morning like, okay, what's going to happen? Because I know that's what's happening, so.
It is exciting. It's exciting because, and it's, it's tempting to be angry at the sleepers who voted for Biden. And I have been from time to time, but in reality, they just haven't had that aha awakening that we had, which, we got a lot of trauma, didn't we, Seth and Laura? So, kind of pushed us. And like, I got pushed way ahead of everybody. So then everybody hated me for, what's wrong with you? Why are you so weird? But what I know is that these people are all of a sudden going to have that on December 21st, I think, is when it's going to happen. That we're going to see 1 billion more, maybe 2 billion more people wake up, and everybody's going to turn around and go, oh my God, thank you, President Trump. What were we thinking? And I agree with you, Seth, that when I do my meditations, when I work with people who are afraid and stuff, I see them celebrating in heaven going, you're almost there. You're almost there. And that's why I feel like we have to keep the narrative alive, the truth alive, and the energy. And I'm really working. I'm an energy person, so I'm an energy master. So I'm like, okay, got to move back this black energy here. We got to transmute this here. And so right now we're focusing on the map of the USA, that it turns to the authentic map. And it's exciting to me to show people they have the power to do it. Everybody was calling me on the phone. What are we going to do? And they were crying and sobbing, and I can't stand it. I'm going to die. And I said, okay, let's get busy. Here's what you can do. So I'm showing people how to use their divine power right now. And we begin now, and then later we're going to create all kinds of more beautiful things. So isn't that exciting? Isn't that joyful? Something wonderful, Laura, is coming.
Yeah, I'm trying to just stay grounded. I'm like totally in celebratory mode, especially having both of you as guests tonight, and the fact that you guys are talking to each other. Yeah, it's like sometimes I'm like feeling such a high vibe in the face of things that I would think would like crush me and sink me. And yeah, it does from time to time. Then I cry it out and I just, emote and express, maybe with an emoji, with a little like throw up emoji. But and then I get to the other side of it and I just feel like, I'm so glad that like you were saying, Seth, I'm so glad I'm embracing, that darkness. I'm not judging it. I'm not creating a division between me and that shadow work. I'm not casting it as being, a problem. I actually really love it, and I'm kissing it and blessing it. So, I mean, that's what you guys are really, masters of. And so amazing to be holding space and being on the show with you guys. So what are your thoughts, Seth, with what she just said?
There's a state, instead of like energy, like I perceive it in my own way as a frequency. There's a frequency that is just innately there. It's just naturally occurring when we are consciously in alignment with the biorhythms and the coherence of our body. And when we're in that and we're aware that it exists, and then we take steps to sustain it, then our actual body, much like an antenna that is receiving information and transmitting information, starts to capacitate this exchange at a level that far exceeds anything that our normal waking mind is capable of comprehending. But this is where it gets really exciting, because we literally become these beacons for the end of duality, which, as I said, for me, in my own trials and tribulations and going through these near-death experiences and things that were really hard, it was about confronting my own fear of fear itself. It was about realizing that a lot of my fear was what was splitting my timeline, you could say. It was splitting me from being this embodied being that I knew I had the potential to be, or being this being that was afraid and stuck and looking at things from fear-based perspective. But getting into that frequency, sustaining that frequency, was the end of duality. It was the end of the things that most people have normalized and think are real. And I feel like that's where the real change is going to come, no matter what. The more that we as individuals wake up and recognize that every gland in our body, our pituitary gland, our pineal gland, our thyroid gland, our thalamus gland, our stomach, all these plexus centers that are in our body have been conditioned with belief systems that were never really ours to begin with. So when we intentionally take responsibility for reconditioning the way we perceive reality in accordance with the harmony that exists on both a microscopic and macroscopic level, as witnessed by the Earth, the solar system, the galaxy, the universe, then we live in a way where no matter how big their guns are, no matter how big their agendas and dilemmas, none of that matters, because you're dealing with something that is so much greater than any of that ever could be. And the more we anchor in that frequency of loving this part of ourselves that is so confident that it has already won and that has already overridden all of that old stuff, change is going to happen real quick.
Yeah, I'd like to piggyback on that, Seth, and say that everybody's facing their shadow. This is when the apocalypse means to reveal the truth. And so all the truth is coming to light of all the dark ones, but it's also of us. Each of us is facing the part of us that doesn't understand ascension, that doesn't want to grow, that maybe holds hatred in their heart or is trauma or judgments from many other lifetimes. So I'm having clients with tons of shadow issues coming up, and a lot of people feeling very suicidal because of it, because they don't understand it, which is why I'm here, is that it's easy for me to explain and to soothe people through that, because I know, and I can say with conviction, Laura, that God would not abandon us. God, Goddess, Creator, Holy Spirit will not abandon us in this hour of need and suddenly make Biden the president. We all have to wear masks and all woo, with shots and stuff. That's not going to happen. This is the shadow being released. It's like Buddha, when he sat at the edge of the river under the Bodhi tree and said, I'm ready to awaken. He meditated there for like 20 years or something. And up came his shadow, and he saw the Maya, and all naked women trying to seduce him, and horrible images and scary things happening. And they said, we're going to kill you and all this. And he said, no, you're just an illusion. I don't believe it. And it disappeared. And that's what's going to happen with this matrix, is that the matrix is made up of unhealed thought forms, lost soul parts, broken fragments of ourselves. And we came here to reclaim these broken soul parts and restore the wholeness of consciousness of the universe. And all this craziness going on right now is the last little bit of it. And people are going to bust through the finish line after December 21st. And they're going to be like, wow, look at this. And maybe some will go faster than others, but I've seen it already. And it sounds like Seth has seen it. And I know, Laura, you came straight out of the galaxies, man. You're barely human. She's the goddess Oracle Gaia. She's so powerfully true. And then, that's our job, is to give that truth and that love and that energy to everybody so we can bring them with us, Let's bring everybody along with us. And we just have to get to 51%, and then we can push all the way through to the other side. So we're in the birth canal right now with all the crummy stuff. All of a sudden, we're going to be like, wow, look at this new baby we just gave birth to. I'm really excited about December 21st, Laura. How about you? I think it's going to be.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's